Hello again. So we're going to be doing some more Bronze Age action comics. I left off at number 498. I thought I could make it to 500, but my camera shut off before I got there. So we'll just start at 499 and go from there. But before we do that, some keen-eyed aficionados of the action comics might wonder why I left out a very good three-parter. I do have those comics. It's the first appearance of Flora Hundul, who's kind of like Ursa from the Superman 2 movie. She's a villainous Kryptonian who was in the Phantom Zone. She was in one of the more modern movies as well. Well, I left this three-parter here because I actually made a video on this three-parter where I went into much more detail about the storyline. It's one of my favorite storylines from Action Comics, so I didn't leave it out, but I actually did it before. So, now let's go back to where we left off. Issue number 499, which is right over here. Again, I honestly don't remember it, so I have nothing much to say about this one, except it seems pretty interesting. So that's issue 499. Next we have issue 500, which I really do remember, and, the storyline actually has a kind of a sequel maybe 2 years later, and I think issue 524, which I think I actually did go over before as well. But this is issue 500, where you have basically, you know how they would have celebrities, and there would be somebody talking about their life. This is your life. Well, Lois Lane and Supergirl basically do this with Superman here, and I really like how this comic is one of those that, like, kind of draws you in, because the cover of the comic is right here, and then you have Supergirl and Lois holding the cover of the comic. So you look at inside that comic, and you have you have the comic here again with Superman looking off to the side, and Lois and Supergirl are holding the cover of that comic. And you look inside here, and it's the same thing. You have Superman and then Lois and Supergirl holding the cover of that comic. And if I could focus, the same thing, and it goes in, to infinity. Of course, it really doesn't, because the artist just drew maybe 4 or 5 of them. But still, it's a pretty cool thing. So this basically is about, I think it's in the Fortress of Solitude, and Superman's giving a tour. This is issue 500. Oh, I should mention, this is issue 500, by the way, so it's a big anniversary issue. He's giving a tour, and if I remember correctly, Lex Luthor made a clone of Superman that he wanted to, you know, basically do his own purposes, but gold kryptonite, now this is, again, pre-crisis, there are many different colors of kryptonite, and they have different effects. Gold kryptonite takes away Superman's powers permanently. Well, Superman tricks him into being exposed to gold kryptonite, so the clone is also disfigured, I believe. No, he's not disfigured to the next issue. I'm sorry. And this one, he just has gold kryptonite, so he's no longer super, and he's locked up, and Lex is caught. So that's issue 500. Issue 501. I don't remember much about this one, except you see here, Clark is actually pretending to be Superman, but everyone knows that he's only pretending, and he gets abducted by aliens who think he is Superman, if I remember correctly. Now, something else too I should mention. So we know Lois Lane, of course, Jimmy Olsen, Perry White. But I think I mentioned in the last video how now in the 70s and early 80s, up until the crisis, so up to the mid-80s, Superman is, Clark Kent, I mean to say, he is not the reporter of a Daily Planet. He's actually working for GBS, I think it's called, which is a television station in Metropolis. And Morgan Edge is his boss. I think he owns the Daily Planet, the Planet building, but he's the one who runs the video company. There are a few more characters in there as well, like what's his name? Vince Lombard? Bruce Lombard? I forget his name. There's a few more characters anyway. And Morgan Edge, I know in the post-crisis he becomes a villain. And this, he's not a villain, he's just a greedy entrepreneur. And so that's what this comic is dealing with. Okay. Issue 502, The Galactic Golem. I don't remember much about this one either. I don't remember. Although he doesn't look, he reminds me kind of the Parasite here, but I don't remember much about the comic. Issue 503. I remember the cover. I don't remember what actually happens in it, but the cover is just, with Ron Wayne being sucked into a rainbow. It's just so colorful. And I think I actually have a second copy. I do have a second copy of this one. I don't remember much of what happens in it, though. Then we have issue 504. I remember that the villain in this one, in the silver suit, turns out to be a woman. I don't remember what her goal was, what she was after, or anything, honestly. But that's issue 504. Ironically, we're coming to the comics that I bought new, and I remember them the least. Issue 505. I remember, I remember 505 and 506. Basically, if I remember correctly, this is a robot kind of monkey kind of creature, but it's Kryptonian, so it has Superman's powers. And someone who built him was actually in the Phantom Zone, because he built him because he knew that Krypton was dying, and I think he wanted to save all the children. So he wanted basically this robot monkey to be like the Pied Piper and lead children away. And somehow or the robot monkey is on Earth and leading Earth children off the planet somehow. And I remember that the Kryptonian who's in the Phantom Zone, he was misunderstood. He wasn't really a villain. Again, he was just trying to save people the way Jor-El was. And he's an old man, but so Superman releases him, but it turns out that he's also he has a terminal illness, so he's only out of the Phantom Zone for maybe an hour, and then he dies of old age and of this illness. I mean to say, he was an old man too. And I remember that the robot monkey saw that and thought Superman killed him. And I don't remember much about what happened there, honestly, but I remember that. Issue 507. Now, post-crisis, Jonathan Kent is alive. Pre-crisis, he's not. So, I don't remember exactly. I think Superman thinks that it's a trick, but I think Jonathan actually went ahead in time and is able to see Superman for a day. If I remember correctly. It's been a while, like I said. I don't remember exactly what happened here. Issue number 508. Issue 509. I do remember this one. I know there was a big bonus story in this one, but also the actual storyline. Okay, there's a society that in real life there are people that believe the moon landing was faked and so forth and so on. Well, this is a society of skeptics like that, but it turns out they believe that space travel is completely fiction, which I mean, aliens are fiction and everything else. So I mean, of course, aliens are in real life, but in the storyline, of course, they don't think that Superman's real. But it turns out that these skeptics really are aliens themselves. They had crash landed on the Earth, and they have no way of getting back. So they kind of erase their memories of being aliens. And if I remember correctly, I don't remember exactly how this worked now, but they erased their memory of being aliens, and so that's why. And it worked so well that they don't believe that like aliens exist and that life exists on other planets. I don't remember exactly how that happens. Now the next one is a trilogy. I remember this one pretty well. So this involves Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor is always pretty well. Not always. He has to be written correctly, but he's a villain that I really like because he doesn't have superpowers, but he just has brain powers. And his brain powers let him be a match with Superman. But in this one, so this trilogy, basically Lex Luthor actually has this scheme where he erases his own memory. So, and we don't find this out to the third issue, but his memory is erased. And he meets a girl and falls in love with her and decides to actually turn good. And in his own mind, he's really sincere, So, in the first issue, I don't remember exactly what happened in the first issue, but the second issue, that's when Superman finally believes him because these two villains, Terra Man and another villain here, this guy, they attack and Lex actually saves him. But what actually happens is, again, this girl is actually a clone of a real girl that Lex actually killed, believe it or not, but he also uses the clone to like basically make her into his perfect woman so that they could get married, and it's all a trap basically because when Lex gets married, he knew he would have Superman be his best man, and when Superman, his best man, kisses the bride, the Kryptonian DNA is going to react with her clone DNA and destroy them both, I think, or take them into kind of a Phantom Zone or something. So that's the story. It's very convoluted, but it was really well done. And I mentioned Airwave in the last video where I said that one of my favorite stories with him is when he gets a new uniform. Well, this is the issue 511, I mean to say. He has a new uniform in this one, I'm very, very sure. And issue 512, he's also the backup story in issue 512. So Airwave, again, he was one of my favorite secondary heroes. Okay, and I mentioned that Adam and Airwave team up sometimes. On the next issue, they actually do. Adam and Airwave are in the backup story together. I think this might be the one with the kind of Space Invader. It's hard to explain, but this villain uses this like Atari graphics to like fool everyone in the courtroom. It's really bizarre, but it's very early '80s. Atari was really big. I actually had an Atari. I loved playing it. I loved playing Space Invaders too. So that really stuck with me. Issue 513, Superman Island, which actually, if I remember correctly, this is from an old Silver Age comic that was continued. The storyline continued here, but that's the first mention of Superman Island, the space island. So I don't remember what happens in the story, except I do remember the Airwave Adam team up. I believe, in fact, I want to check that out. I want to make sure I'm right about that this is the issue. If it is, I will show it to you. So just hang tight here for a moment while I open it up. Let's see here. So here's the main storyline, which, you know, arguably is the better one, but like I said, I believe... Oh, no, I don't remember this much, actually. I'm looking here at the main storyline. Oh, here's a old retro article, an advertisement. When I was a kid, on Saturday mornings, that's when the cartoons would show. I usually wasn't watching them, I was too busy, but this is an advert for those cartoons. And oh, the Hive. It looks like the Hive is the villain in this story. Okay, so here's the Adam and Airwave, and no, this is not the. Oh, okay, I'm wrong. This is not the issue that I was talking about with the Atari. No, but still, that's issue number 513, and you get a chance to really see a little bit of the Adam and Airwave in action when I was flipping the pages. Okay, anyway, it wasn't that issue, and I don't think it's the next one either. But issue 514 is looks like a Brainiac story, and Airwave and Adam have a bigger advert here where they're kind of taking up the last third of the comic, maybe the last quarter. Kind of cool. Issue 515. Okay, I remember this. This is Vandal Savage. Vandal Savage. He basically makes a new dimension where it's kind of like he uses Superman in this new dimension and as kind of like an enforcer. And if I remember correctly, Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen and a few more, they're part of this like rebellion against this like totalitarian society. I don't remember exactly how he managed to do that, but I remember something like that happens here. That's issue 515 and issue 516. It's all part of the same storyline. Okay. Next is issue 517. Looks pretty cool. Looks like Superman stopping two fleets from fighting each other. I don't remember what's going on here, though, honestly, so I can't speak for it. Okay, next is issue 518. 518. Again, I don't remember what's going on here, honestly. And Aquaman is the secondary character. Aquaman was probably more famous than, well, definitely more famous than Airwave, and maybe even more famous than the Atom. Probably was, honestly, but I didn't really like Aquaman very much. The Atom, I didn't mention him. He's basically, I know Ant-Man is very popular now with the Marvel movies. He's basically DC's Ant-Man. I don't know which one came first. I want to say both of those comics started in the 60s. I don't know which came first, but a lot of different characters that DC had, Marvel had a very similar one and vice versa. So, don't remember which came first. Now, next is issue 519. I know I mentioned in the last comic, I think I might have two, no, I only have one. I mentioned in the last video that I like how some of the characters and aliens are not actual villains. They're just misunderstood, or there's a misunderstanding. That's what's going on here. It's hard to explain this. I do remember this though. This creature is actually he's kind of like he's a beast. He isn't intelligent, but he's a scourge of the space lanes where he's destroyed different planets. And this alien is legitimately trying to stop him, but Superman thinks that he's just trying to kill. He's trying to kill the beast for a trophy. He thinks that he's kind of like one of those trophy hunters, or maybe even that the beast is intelligent. So Superman's just trying to save it. But again, it's a misunderstanding. Next is issue 520. I don't remember this issue, honestly. I don't remember what's going on here at all. It's issue 521. Oh, I'm sorry, 522. 521 probably had something objectionable in it. I didn't collect that comic. I don't remember. Clockwork Man. I don't remember. I remember it being kind of a sad ending, but I don't remember exactly what happened or what's going on here, honestly. Issue 523. Steve Lombard. I mentioned him as being one of the characters in the late 70s, early 80s when Clark Kent is part of the GBS news network as opposed to working for the Daily Planet. Well, he is the sportscaster, and he's always kind of bullying Clark, kind of in a semi-friendly way. He's not like a really out-and-out mean person, but he's just kind of an egotist. Anyway, this alien somehow convinces him that Steve is an alien too, and that's his brother. That's not the case, and I don't remember the point why the alien did that. Honestly, maybe the alien even thought that himself. I don't remember now. Issue number 524. I know I reviewed this issue in another video, so I'm gonna just skip it. But this is the continuation of issue 500 with that clone that Lex Luthor made. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. And this is advertising Superman 2, so this must be 1980, issue 524. Okay, issue 525. I remember this guy, Neutron. He has a beef against Superman because basically, he was a villain hired by Lex Luthor to steal something in this power plant. And the power plant had this catastrophic accident, kind of like TMI, 3 Mile Island. And Superman didn't see him because the lead lining of the fuel rods or whatever blocked him from being seen. So this guy was exposed to massive doses of radiation. And unlike in real life, unfortunately, though someone would get cancer and die, of course, in the comic books, they become, they get powers, or they have some kind of powers basically from it. And this power is Neutron. He's kind of like a walking nuclear reactor, and he has a gripe against Superman, so he fights him here in issue 525. I know he fights him later, and I think he reforms later, if I remember correctly, but it's a two-parter. He's fighting him again in 526. It's the two-parter, and again, Airwave is the secondary storyline. So that's Neutron. 528 involves Brainiac again. Now we're coming kind of towards the end of the pre-Crisis era. I remember the stories began to get a little, I don't know, I didn't like them as much for the most part around this time until like they knew that the pre-Crisis era was ending, and they made the stories a lot more kind of Silver Age-y, which I did like that. So that's 428. Here's 429. And I'm not talking about them because I really don't remember what happens, honestly. I don't remember much about what happens. But that's 425. I'm sorry. I'm saying 4. This is 529. My mistake. Again, I don't know what happens, though. This issue, 530. I remember this one simply because this is the last time in the pre-Crisis era that we see Brainiac as being a green computer the way he is here. He becomes kind of a silvery robot after this. I don't remember exactly what happens, exactly why. But he becomes more powerful, and he becomes a silvery robot, and he has a spaceship that looks like the head of the silvery robot. I think he might have even had that in the post-Crisis, but I don't remember. I don't read a lot of the post-Crisis comics. And here Aquaman's teaming up with the Atom. I always liked Airwave best, as I said before, and I always wanted to see more of Airwave, but I don't think he was very popular to most people. Here's 532. Again, this is showing 535, so this is not even the right plastic. I just grab plastic sometimes. But Lois Lane is undercover for the Hive. He's shooting Superman with a kryptonite gun. That actually does happen in the comic, but you have to see the. Let me open it up so you can see the cover. She doesn't have this look of glee the way she does in the cover here. She's actually trying to do her best to not do this, and she stops doing it. But the Hive is kind of like a criminal gang kind of cult kind of thing. It's hard to explain. Issue 533, again, the Hive is attacking Jimmy Olsen this time, and we do see, this might be Airwave's last appearance. You see Airwave and the Atom in a team-up. Okay, that's 533. Next is issue 535, the Omega Men. Don't remember much about this, honestly, so I can't really speak for it. Next is issue 536. I think he lost his power. I don't remember exactly. I don't remember what. I think Superman had. Oh yeah, Superman doesn't have his powers, or he has half his powers, or something of that nature. But at this point, and this is like a continual storyline for a little bit. So issue 536, issue 538, the Jackhammer, and again Superman's fighting him with only half his powers, if I remember correctly. Issue 542. I don't remember what's happening here. We don't. Next is issue 543, where the Neutron is back. Don't remember much about what happens here either. Although it looks like the whole city got destroyed. Issue 544, the 45th anniversary issue, and again, this is what Brainiac looks like after that issue I mentioned before. And of course, Lex with his power suit. Don't remember what happens actually in the anniversary issue besides that. And it looks like Brainiac is back in the next issue as well, 545. It says, the old Brainiac had a touch, the merest touch of humanity. The new Brainiac has eliminated that defect. And like I said, I remember that the new Brainiac is stronger and more ruthless. Okay, again, I'm hoping we probably won't get a chance to finish the pre-crisis before the video ends, but maybe we'll get to 550 at least. That'll be a good stopping point. Issue 546, it looks like the JLA and Teen Titans is teaming up with Superman. I don't remember exactly what's going on here at all. Issue 547. I don't remember this one either. Although I do remember that this villain wasn't really very impressive. And it's advertising Superman 3, so that must be 1983. Okay, actually we can get to 550 because issue 548 and 549 involve the Phantom Zone villains, and I know I did a very intensive video on this before. I like that storyline as well. So issue 550, the day the Earth exploded. I don't remember this issue at all. I'm sorry, I don't. So we'll stop here at issue 550. I hope you really enjoyed these this little flashback in time to the Bronze Age of the Superman comics. I really enjoyed it myself, especially because honestly, I remember the covers, but I don't remember some of the storylines, honestly. It's been a little while since I've read this. What I plan to do, and we'll see if I actually do this, is finish the pre-crisis comics, because that's really around the time I stopped reading Superman comics. And from there, maybe I'll review the Transformer comics, the US and UK comics, maybe. I'm not sure. That'll probably be sometime down the road. I don't know when I'll even do this again. But I hope you enjoyed these videos, these two videos that I made today. I started basically around issue 464, and I went to issue 550. So it's a good 100 issues or so. Again, I hope you enjoyed them. Please leave your comments below, and if you have any questions, by all means, ask me. But just please keep the language G-rated. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.